everyone, my name is Hannah Lee, and today I'm going to tutor you SAT writing some hard questions. So let's get started. The question 1 is, which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of the standard English? Okay, so it says U.S. Supreme Court held that certain forms of the surveillance violated the Fourth Amendment drew on a tradition of the protection derived from the colonial experience. So there's two verbs. So U.S. Supreme Court is the main subject and drew is the main verb. And it says justice something, right? So in the blank there's something justice. Then it would modify the US Supreme Court like this, and then drew would be the verb of the US Supreme Court. So it would be US Supreme Court justice, comma, those, justice, comma, and who. Supreme Court justice held, justice who. The answer would be D, because if you say justice, comma, those, it's subject. If it's A, okay, let me screenshot it and copy it to here. Okay, so when you say the A is the answer, it would be the U.S. Supreme Court justice. The U.S. Supreme Court justice held true, like this. So this is not the answer. U.S. Supreme Court justice and who held verb. If you want to modify the subject by who, then you shouldn't use comma and then. You have to just use who, blah blah blah. If you use C, it means U.S. Supreme Court justice subject held true. So this is not the answer. So it would be U.S. Supreme Court who justice who held. So this would be the modifier for the U.S. Supreme Court justice. So the answer is D. The next question is, which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the convention to standard English? So it says, when external forces are applied to common glass made from silicates, energy builds up around minuscule defects in the material, resulting in fractures. Recently, engineer Erika Fränberg of Tampere University in Finland used the chemical blank to make a glassy solid that can withstand higher strain than silicate glass can before fracturing. So recently, engineer Erika Fränberg blah 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 is the subject, used verb the chemical object to blah 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 to make a glass solid. It's modifier, and that can also modify the glassy solid. So chemical compound. Okay. Okay, so since to make a glassy solid is the modifier for the blank, and it's so it doesn't need the comma over here. So, and if you want to use comma, it should be matched So A doesn't make sense because it should be either using two matching commas or not, or just not using commas. These are not the answer because it doesn't need a comma after aluminum oxide. And for D is the answer. And one more reason why it's the answer, because in the text it is not specific that the chemical compound is aluminum oxidized. So since this is not specific, we shouldn't use comma between them. It's not allowed in the text. Why? Because it is essential information. The next question is, which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the convention of the standard English? So the text is, in the late blank, an excavation of the ancient cemetery for wealthy Athenians uncovered a treasure trove of enormous ceramic urns, some up to 6 feet tall, dating back to 750 BCE. Okay, so first of all, when you say like so South Korea, you use a comma between a city and a country, right? So the answer choices is pretty similar to this one. So Athens, comma, Greece, right? It should be Athens, comma, Greece. So there's no comma, right? No comma over there. And let's see, do we need a semicolon between 1100 and in? Okay, in the late 1100 comma or just in Athens, I think those are making sense, but not the semicolon, because when you use semicolon, there should be IC and IC, independent clause and dependent clause, not dependent clause. So, but in here, in the text, there's only in the late semicolon then a clause. So this one, it doesn't make sense, right? So it would be in the late 1800s in Athens, Greece. So D would be the answer. Next question is, which choice completes the text with the most logical transition? Most logical transition. Okay, so Nelson Mandela first achieved world fame through his struggle against apartheid in South Africa. From the 1940s onward, he led campaigns against South Africa's racist policies of the apartheid. Mandela was eventually arrested for his activities and imprisoned for 27 years. In 1991, he was released and went on to win the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993 along the FWD Claude Blanc. In 1994, he was elected as the first black president of the South Africa. So, in the beginning of the paragraph, it says Nelson Mandela fought against some unfair policies, right? Against racist policies of apartheid. Oh, the reason why I kinda organized the paragraph context is this is the question for logical traditions, so you have to know what the paragraph is saying. So first, and then second, he was arrested. He was arrested and imprisoned, but later he was released Nobel Prize, Peace Prize. Then blank and black president, right? So it's not the B because it's not the context that has some contrast between the beginning and the end of the paragraph. So it shouldn't be B because it's not contrast. Okay, nevertheless, it doesn't make sense because nevertheless means something just pop up. It's not because it's not some pop up context. It's very logical. It's very logical. So you might debating yourself between A and B. Okay. Likewise, it doesn't work. Okay, it works. Likewise, when there's beginning of the sentence of the paragraph, and I'll just say beginning of the idea, and there's end of the idea, right? And if say there's a blank between them, and if the blank wants to be likewise, it should be sort of kinda, they should be sort of kinda different idea, but has sort of similarity. But in this case, yes, it has some similarity, but it's not some different idea. It's just like a short history of the life of the Nelson Mandela, right? So since they're not different idea, it's just listing his life. So likewise is not the answer. So subsequently is the answer. And when you say sub, it means under. When you say sequent, it means order. So subsequently basically just simply means after that, because it means under the order, right? So yes, it fits in the blank because it's basically just listing out the life of the Nelson Mandela. So he was released from the prison and he got Nobel Peace Prize. Subsequently, after that, he became the first black president of South Africa, right? So option D is the answer. Question 25. Which choice completes the text with the most logical transition? When soil becomes contaminated by toxic metals, it can be removed from the ground and deposited in the landfill. Blank. Contaminated soil can be detoxified via phytoremediation. Plants that can withstand high concentration of the metal absorb the pollutants and store them in their shoots, which are then cut off to safely dispose of, preserving the health of the plant. Okay, so it's suggesting one idea one, and idea two, which is it can be removed from the ground and deposited of the landfill like that. And this is suggesting a different idea, which is it can be also detoxified via phytoremediation. So idea 1 and 2 are both talking about the detoxified and how to remove the toxic metals from the ground like that, but one is just focusing from the landfill, but 2 is focusing on a phytoremediation. So it's not as a research because there's no research in the context, and it's not specifically because it's not narrowing down. And it's not the example because there's no example. It's just kinda listing out different idea, right? Listing out different idea. Because alternatively, it's basically suggesting another option or possibility, which is perfect for the blank in this case. So it should be A, alternatively. Number 27. The student wants to emphasize the role of the misconception played in the naming of the place. Which choice most effectively uses the relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? While researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. Okay. Last Thursday, Esplandian was a novel popular in 16th century Spain. The novel features a fictional island inhabited solely by black women and known as California. The same century, Spanish explorers learned of an island off the west coast of Mexico. They called California after the island in the novel. The island was actually a peninsula now known as the Baja California, Lower California, which lies to the south of the U.S. state of California. So the bullet point above is like an explanation of the just general idea. Then this explains about just I think over here it's showing the explanation, and over here it says the how and what misconception it has. Okay, option A. The novel Las Seguras de Esplandian features a fictional island known as California. Okay, so yes, it's fictional island. It is true, but it doesn't focus on the emphasizing of the misconception at all. Option B. To the south of the U.S. state of California lies Baja California, originally called California after a fictional place. Yes, it pointing out this point, but also it's not the explaining about what misconception it had. Option C. In the 16th century, Spanish explorers learned of the peninsula of the west coast of Mexico and called it California. It is true again, but it doesn't focus at all about the misconception. It's just talking about the description of the California Spanish explorers peninsula, like that. Option D. Thinking it was an island. Okay, this is the misconception that we had. Spanish explorers called the peninsula California after an island in the popular novel, and it also adds some description. So those are perfect for emphasizing the misconception. So ABC, they cannot be the answer because do not mention about the misconception. So D is the answer. So today I tutor you about some hard SAT writing concepts and some problems. Yep. Thank you for today, and this was Hannah Lee. Thank you.